You don't know jack about MS. No, no, that's not an insult. That's one of the many creative and memorable campaigns dreamed up by the person you see in the box next to me. She's Robyn Malone, CEO and Chief Partner Officer of RJ Communications. And this is episode 125 of Tales from the Beat, where we look at news and PR from both sides of the scrimmage line. I'm Ed Garsten. Hi, Robyn.
How are you?
Good. How are you? I appreciate you being with us on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
You bet. And you're coming to us from Chicago, right?
I am a New Yorker turned Chicagoan. So yes, I am in Chicago today.
Nice to meet a fellow native New Yorker.
New
Uh,
Yorker.
I'm just across the lake from you in Detroit, so
Ah,
we're not so far. So we're both transplants,
we
and
are. We
we
are.
are
We absolutely
in our
are.
roots.
And
Yeah,
recovering transplants,
recovering. Yeah, for sure. So I'm really intrigued with you're a sort of a master storyteller and some of the campaigns that you ran. And we always say that whether we're reporters or PR people, marketing, we're all storytellers, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we'll get to the You Don't Know Jack campaign. We'll explain that to the folks and just think that I didn't just hallucinate here for a second. But so, Robyn, let's just talk first of all a little bit about your agency and your background.
Sure. So I've been doing PR and specifically in healthcare and health and wellness for almost 30 years now.
Uh,
I know every time I say that, I'm like, oof.
yeah, I'm with
um,
you.
I know. And I spent the majority of my career at, large and small agencies, the big ones that you've heard of and so forth.
Mhm.
Um, about 5 years ago, I went out on my own. And I think I told you this story. Like, I wasn't
Yeah.
intending to start an agency.
Mhm.
It happened by accident. Like, it
Wow.
wasn't something that was, it just wasn't something that I had
Mhm.
um, no sort of desire or interest or even thoughts about being an entrepreneur and standing up
Mhm.
an agency. But
Mhm.
when I left my last agency, the clients followed me. And then I was like,
Nice.
oh, wait a minute, I've got to
Yeah.
figure this out. And so that's what happened. And so since then, um, we are 5 years old.
Wow.
And it's been a great ride. I've learned so much. My fair share of falling on my face
Mhm.
and making mistakes and learning the hard way, but like it's been great. And I really do love this work. And that was the other part of it.
Sure.
Once when you're at these agencies, I ran healthcare in a couple of agencies. I was running the practice. You get too far from the work,
Mm,
and I don't ever want to be too far from the work.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
And
you want to.
so this agency that I've built, that I have, an amazing team that's helped me build, allows me to still be close to the work. And that's what's really important for me.
It sure is. I mean, no matter what subject you're involved with, you want to be close to it. I know that I tried retiring, it didn't work, and I covered autos for many years. But I still write about it in my retirement
Sure,
because I want to be close to it too. It's just a fascinating subject.
sure.
But let's talk about before we get into the nuts and bolts of the campaigns, just the whole concept of being a storyteller. You mentioned to me you don't really pitch reporters in what you do, right? You're creating storylines.
I personally don't. My team does. I have
Yeah.
media strategists and specialists on the team that do that.
Hmm.
I personally don't, right? That's not a part of the work that I do.
Right.
But yes, developing the strategy, developing the story, creating the campaigns,
Right.
and then working really, really closely with my team to figure out, okay, we've developed this strategy. How do we pull it through? Like, what are the levers that we're going to pull to
Yeah.
tell this story? And um, and a lot of that. a lot of what we do is media relations. So we are on the
Sure.
phones with reporters.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a huge part of the work that we
Yeah.
do, just not what I personally do.
What you personally do. But still, I mean, developing story, I know that, I don't know how many story pitches I get a day or a week, but
Hmm.
um, so many of them just don't seem fully baked
Yeah.
or are actual story. I had one guy, I haven't heard from him in a while, maybe because I never answer him. He sent me a story pitch. It was over 500 words. And it wasn't until word 300 that he actually had the pitch for the story. So, Robyn, explain how you translate your storytelling process to sort of train and guide your staff into creating effective story pitches so they're getting results.
So there are a couple things. The first of which is like anyone who's sending you a 500 or even a 300 word pitch
Yeah,
is I can't, I'm not a reporter
yeah,
and no one's pitching me for coverage, but
right,
someone sends me a 300 word email that isn't like my husband or my mom.
yeah,
I'm already, you've already lost me,
right.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so we have a process that we have trademarked called finding your story space.
Hmm.
And the whole point of it is to think beyond. It's not white space, which is commercial and marketing and competitor based. It's not share a voice, which is media coverage and chatter. It's the next step.
Mhm.
And that's what we do. So we work to find your story space because story space is not just looking at how you're showing up in the market, it's how you're showing up in the conversation
Hmm.
and where you can be and where you can show up and how you can show up in a way that's uniquely yours. And so that's the process that we
Hmm.
go to, that we start there.
Okay.
And then again, the pull through is what the pitch is for media. And my team will tell you, I am a big believer in
Yeah.
I don't tell a media person how to pitch.
Okay.
I don't do that.
You don't do that. Huh?
No, nope. You, as a media person,
Yeah.
you, universal you, know way better than I do because you're pitching every day. I'm not.
Yeah.
So as long as you've got the story nailed and we are not running afoul of any,
Sure.
regulations or compliance issues,
Hmm.
um, I don't, your pitch is your pitch.
Okay.
And that's important to me because I can't, like someone couldn't tell me as an example, um, how to feed my dog. This is a terrible
Okay.
example,
Yeah.
but you can't because she's healthy and she's been my dog for 8 or 10
Hmm.
years.
Yeah.
And so, and I feed her every day. So
Hmm.
someone coming in and maybe having a point of view, that's fine.
Yeah.
But because she's healthy and thriving,
Okay.
I'm not, so I think it's overstepping to
Sure.
tell anyone on my team who's pitching media what the
Hmm.
pitch look like. I think it is overstepping and I don't do it.
Yeah. But how much research, if any, do your folks do as to the reporter's beat, their audience, their publication?
A
Just,
ton,
I'm sorry,
a ton,
a ton?
a metric ton. We have a lot of um, approaches to how we make sure that we understand what this reporter is interested in or what this outlet covers
Hmm.
and vice versa. So it's not, it isn't, um, it isn't arbitrary. It's incredibly intentional and
Yeah.
incredibly strategic and incredibly thoughtful. So there's a lot to your point. I think you're
Yeah.
getting to. There's a lot of work that goes into the pitch
Right.
before the pitch happens.
Before it happens. I know I
Mhm.
get a lot of pitches from people who, they get a list
Yeah,
from, they
from
they get a media
whomever.
list. I don't know how many pitches I've gotten lately on cosmetics, on makeup, on fashion.
Mhm. Mhm.
And some of these pitches are all, I mean, great locations, and these parties sound I'd love to cover them, but my editor's not going to
Yeah,
let me.
they missed the mark. And I think
Yeah.
it's so interesting. And I think that is just so elementary.
Hmm.
It is elementary. It is
Yeah.
the 101 class.
Yeah.
And it actually it confounds me how it still happens. But that's the 101 class. So
Yeah.
that's not what we do. First of all, it isn't effective, and it isn't thoughtful, it isn't impactful, it doesn't add value. But also, we're a small agency,
Yeah.
so I have to be really, really thoughtful
Sure.
about, we're going to spend the resources to make sure we know who and how and when.
Yeah. Do you ever, this has come up. I've seen a lot of people write about this lately, although it's been an age-old issue between PR agencies or even in-house
Mhm.
communications, where your client insists on you pushing something that is not news and is not going to get any coverage. And some are so, oh, I'm afraid, I'm going to lose the business if I don't do it. And others, have the cojones to step up and say, no, this is wrong. You're not going to get anything. You're wasting your money with this. I'm just wondering how you deal with a situation like that if you've run into it.
Way more than I would prefer that I've run into, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Um, I tell the truth
Hmm.
all the time. It
Yeah.
gets me in trouble. It causes friction, but I tell the truth all the time. So the baseline is, you brought us in because you think we understand you and your business and what you're trying to accomplish, and we know how to tell your story. So um, there's a level of deference, in air
Hmm.
quotes, right,
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
you are giving to us because you have decided that we are the right partner for you. And
Hmm.
we have an expertise that you may not have in house, or sometimes it's bandwidth.
Right.
Fair enough. But you've entrusted us
Hmm.
to do this thing.
Sure.
And with I and my team, we take that trust so seriously,
Hmm.
which means we are always going to tell you if this is a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, that's
I always say, I can take your money for it, but I
yeah.
think, honestly, right?
Yeah.
But if you think, or there's some other bigger power that,
Yeah.
as a POV, this is a bad idea and it's not what you should spend your money on.
Right.
And that's what we do. And
Yeah.
it's the reason I think that our partners continue to work with us, because we always tell the truth. It doesn't benefit us,
Yeah.
but I'm invested in what your mission is and what your
Sure.
vision is, what your goals are. And so I'm not going to just do it because you
Right.
say
Yeah.
I need to be in the New York Times.
Yeah. No, it's smart and you're brave. I know I worked in corporate communications for a while at an automaker. That was a whole different ball game because you're an employee
Mhm.
and and they would hand you down, some guy got promoted to be third vice president of coffee grounds. And you had to create a release and then they go, oh, why didn't I get any coverage? And you go,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, let's talk about those campaigns. We've left the folks hanging long enough, but the you don't know Jack, and then you did one with Angie Harmon, right? You did a campaign. Why don't you talk about those and just sort of how they came about?
Yeah. So the stories are different. So the Jack Osborne campaign came to pass because truly what happened was, um, our client, Teva Pharmaceuticals,
Hmm.
um, at the time, they were the maker of the number one MS treatment,
Hmm.
Apaxone. Okay. And so we were doing a lot of work for them, et cetera, et cetera. And then Jack Osborne said he had MS. He had a feature
Mm.
in People, I think he was on the cover.
Yeah.
And he did at one point, if I recall, say that he was on our drug.
Okay.
So we picked up the phone.
Yeah. Oh,
We're
yeah.
like,
Hey.
hey, sir,
Yeah.
here's what was most interesting. It's one of my favorite campaigns. I'm still very close with his team.
Hmm.
Um, one of my most favorite campaigns, and here's why. Because what it did, if you consider the patient base for MS are women in their 40s, mostly 40s and up, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to tap into something that would resonate with them. And most people, younger folks, don't recognize that the first family of reality TV was the Osbournes.
Yeah.
They were the blueprint.
Yeah.
They did it first.
Hmm. For sure.
And so we wanted to create something that turned the lights on that memory for this community of patients.
Yeah.
And so we created this campaign, You Don't Know Jack About MS,
Yeah.
and it was a documentary where we followed him.
Mm.
And it was incredibly successful. The clients loved it. They still talk about it. I'm still in touch with them.
Yeah.
So it was this nugget of what's going to resonate with this community. And we're like,
Mm.
that's how that campaign
And
came to be.
that's how they came about.
That's how
Brilliant.
the campaign came to be. Mhm.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And I imagine it just, I know I've known several people with MS, and
Mhm.
sometimes they just, the frustration in their lives because of their physical disabilities,
Sure.
and these are people who are very, very, I think a fellow that I work with at the automaker had a brilliant gentleman, frustrated on a daily basis. And I'm just curious as to, what kind of feedback you got from, if any, from patients or people that had this condition.
Yeah, I think there was a resonant tone to the feedback that we got
Hmm.
because he came out, he shared his story. And
Yeah.
then if you are my age, I'm telling on myself, right?
Hmm.
If you are my age, the Jack that you remember, the Jack
Yeah.
that you know
Yeah.
was this, chubby, curly head, pimply face, kind of not fun teenager.
Right.
But now what we're showcasing is he is a family man.
Yes.
He's got a wife, he's got kids. There's a connection to what we remember and who he is now through the lens of his MS.
Hmm.
And so that was the goal.
Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. I know you're a busy person. I don't want to keep you much longer, but why don't we just come full circle, because the object of our podcast is to look at things from both sides. So, Robyn, just maybe some final thoughts on really how storytelling skills kind of cross that line, so that you're being successful in winning coverage for your clients by appealing to what reporters are looking for.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. And because media coverage is so different now than when I
Yeah.
started, right? It was
Hmm.
I had a Bacon's book.
Yeah.
Do you remember Bacon's, right? I
Yes.
Bacon's book when I was looking at reporters. It's a
Yeah.
completely different ecosystem
Yes.
of coverage now. And so it's about the right timing, the right story, and the right opportunity. But also, like, we do media relations. It's, clearly what our agency does. But
Yeah.
storytelling comes in many forms,
Hmm.
especially now, right? So
Yeah.
when I talked about before the pull through, so we kind of have the story, and then it's like, how do we tell it? How do we pull that story through? Right? So it's media coverage and
Yeah.
how we're pitching and who we're pitching and when we're pitching.
Hmm.
And then there's social media,
Yes.
right? As an
Yes.
example.
Oh,
And then
yes.
there's thought leadership. What
Hmm.
are the leaders of your company and your brand saying, and how are we connecting it to the story?
Right.
So there's the story, and then there's the how do we take it out for a spin,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so those are the things that we always consider and that we always have to think through.
Sure.
Because we're aligned on the story, but now how do
Yeah.
we activate against it? And that's the work that we do.
Yeah. And plus, we're up against different things now. You know, it used to be, try to sell the story, get it in the paper, get it on the air, and now you're fighting against
All
being
the things.
found from AI and SEO. And it's just not, I know the stories that I write for the Forbes website, we have a little on the content management system, a little top hat and a magic wand, and you click it, and then it tells you if your headline and your lead are
Yeah,
SEO friendly,
yeah,
and how you can make it better. I'm thinking, oh my God, I wrote my first news story in 1969.
right.
I ripped and read,
Yeah.
teletype
And so,
copy.
so two things I would say, like how the industry has evolved over the years
Yeah.
is that um, reporters are incentivized or rewarded or assessed based
Mhm.
on their ability on their social media
Yeah.
traction, right? That's
Yes.
one thing.
Hmm.
Um, so they are thinking this way. It's not just news value, although
No.
that's the first thing,
Yeah.
but they have to kind of think differently, and so we have to adapt to how they are thinking.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, I think I just saw this today.
Hmm.
Um, I want to get it right. Give
Okay.
me a moment.
Yeah.
I just saw this today that Muckrack did. Um, they put out a paper that said earned media
Hmm.
is the most important way to become or to be included in LLM. So AI,
Yeah.
your GPTs.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So it's like,
Yes.
oh, it's a completely different animal than
Hmm.
it was even 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a full circle moment, right? Like
Sure.
it used to be media coverage was all it was a, I'd be calling reporters for a tear sheet.
Yeah.
I'm really telling my age at this point.
Yeah.
My we're calling reporters for a tear sheet.
Yeah.
And then it became about how can we work with the reporter to create something that's going to amplify the um, the outlet or their own social media. Now it's like, oh no, no, no. It's come
Hmm.
full circle.
Yeah.
So what you are creating with and the
Yes.
stories that you're telling are have to be LLM friendly. They have
Yes.
to be LLM appropriate. They have to be LLM first
Hmm.
in order for you to get the visibility and for that
Yes.
story to be heard.
Yeah.
So it's a very different thing. It's super interesting. Like
It,
I get all nerdy about it, but
yeah.
it's super interesting.
Well, no, I mean it is interesting, and for someone. who's been doing it for a long time, you're constantly learning new tricks, but when the game changes, you have to change with it. And
You
that's the
do.
only way to stay successful. But yeah, earned media, you just have to earn it in a different way.
Yeah, it's
And
still earned. It's still
yeah,
earned. You still have to work hard. You still have
yeah,
to make sure that you understand. But yes, you have
yeah,
to earn it in a different way. And you have to keep in mind what's important to the reporter because it isn't just whether this is news or interesting. It's like,
right.
does this have pull through value for
Yes.
other things? So it's all of those things are part of the consideration set.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you, I was considering covering this legal matter between these two companies. And when I went to my editor to ask if I should go ahead with the story, he said, no, the defendant in the case isn't showing up on Google Trends. I never thought I'd hear anything like that in my life, but
Right?
oh, okay.
Right? Like
Uh,
it's so different.
yeah,
Um, and not better or worse, just different.
it
So
is
how
different.
we so how are we adapting? How are we making sure that we are still showing up and delivering?
Yes.
We are delivering for the reporter and the outlet, and we're delivering for our partners. Like that is that's the ebb and flow. That's how you bend and flex
Yeah.
to make sure that the story is told in the way that you want it to.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Well, Robyn, you've been delightful.
Likewise.
Learned a lot from you today, as always. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to be with us on the podcast. Folks, is Robyn Malone. She's the CEO and Chief Partner Officer at RJ Communications in Chicago. Thank you so much, Robyn. You're really wonderful. Thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll speak again.
Likewise, Ed. This was awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning into this episode of Tales from the Beat. I'm Ed Garsten. I hope you'll comment, subscribe, share. We'll be back soon with more tales. Thanks.